name's Robert Gregg. I'm the Vice President of Operations here at Trade Navigator, and welcome to Session 1 of 3 with Peter Brandt. Session 1's title being Why 80% of Novice Speculators Are Looking for Answers in All the Wrong Places. Just a little bit of background about Peter. Peter has been trading as a member of the Chicago Board of Trade since 1975. In 1980, he founded Factor Trading Co. as a proprietary trading firm at the Chicago Board of Trade. Peter's been trading futures and forex markets over the course of 5 different decades. A couple of years ago, Peter hired a forensic accounting firm to verify his lifetime performance record using IRS tax statements and brokerage reports. The audit determined that Peter had achieved a compound annual growth rate of 41.6%. Further, the audit determined that each $1,000 of startup capital in 1981 produced trading profits exceeding $318,000. Peter's also the author of 2 books, the first being Trading Commodity Futures with Classical Chart Patterns. It's out of print. Unpackaged copies will sell upwards of $1,100. You can find a used copy for $300 to $400 range. His second book is Diary of a Professional Commodity Trader. It was published in 2011 by John Wiley & Sons. It was ranked #1 selling financial book on Amazon for 25 consecutive weeks and has been translated into 7 different languages. Peter's blog, which you can find at www.peterlbrandt.com, was named in a 2011 survey of web readers as one of the 10 most influential websites providing financial information. Peter's used Trade Navigator as his primary charting and trading platform for 21 years. Because Peter lives within a few miles of our location here, he drops into our office frequently, and we've been bugging Peter for many years to do a webinar for us. We're very excited and grateful that he's finally worked out for him to share some of his insights with us. So without further ado, I'll let Peter take over.
Thanks for your introduction, Rob. I just want to say a couple things here first before we start. When I put out on StockTwits and StockTwits and Twitter that the title of this webinar, there was some backlash. Some people who were insulted by the title of this webinar, and that was not my intent. I think those of you who know me best, who have in one manner or another, know that my intent is never to put down new traders. People who aspire to be good traders, tough job. It's an upstream swim against human nature. And I'm not one to try to be discouraging. I try to be encouraging. I try to be a resource for traders, and I don't try to be a roadblock. And so I apologize for those people who might have taken the title of this webinar the wrong sort of way. I am not going to share my wrath during this webinar today, because I do plan to share my wrath, not against new traders, but against some in this industry that I think make the job of new traders that much more difficult. I want to thank Trade Navigator for putting this on. There are 2 groups in the audience today. One is a number of people who use Trade Navigator as their trading platform, and I hope that you use the Trade Navigator as a platform as I am. As Rob mentioned, it is the platform I've used for charting and trading for over 20 years. It's my primary. I trade based on the platform. I chart based on the platform. And the second group in the audience are people who are kind of members of the Factor community with classical charting, the world of classical charting, which is the world that I deal with. If you were at the event in Las Vegas a couple of Traders for a Cause, a lot of this is going to be duplicate material. So I want to, I had to let you know that you're going to be hearing the same message here twice, but I do want to thank you. This is going to be by far the longest of the 3 webinars I give. The second next Tuesday, November 3rd, which will deal a lot with how I think about charting. When I think about charting, what is that I think about it? How do I use the platform in the process of my trading? And then on November 17th, we'll have another webinar, and that is going to deal with risk management, how I view risk management. What is there about risk management that is so important? So but this will be the longest of the three. And so I thank you in advance for bearing with me in these preliminary comments, and I do want to kind of get the ball rolling with what I have to say today. The title is Why 80% of Novice Speculators Are Looking for Answers in All the Wrong Places, which are kind of subtitled What I Wish I Would Have Known in 1975, but could not have possibly known, and the realities of market speculation. The next two sessions will be classical charting really matter, how I use Trade Navigator to execute my trading program. And then the final webinar on November 17th will deal with risk management. In 1975, when I started trading, I frankly thought it was going to be a pretty simple process. I the board of trade with a friend of mine who was a member of the board of trade and traded soybeans at the time. I was in a different business, but I would go to the board of trade and have lunch. And I was captivated by the markets. I was captivated enough that I gave up my job and went to work in the board of trade, not really sure because I wanted to be a trader, and that's all I really knew. And at the time, I really felt that being a successful trader was just a matter of ability, desire to make money, and hard work, which I could do. I had come from a very poor family. We were a welfare family. I was used to working. I had earned all my buy my clothes since I was 14 years old. I knew how to work hard. Uh, worked 2 or 3 jobs during hard work was something I was used to, and so I could certainly do that. And for me, I just thought it was a matter of figuring out some other traders' tricks. I'd be at the board of trade, there would be plenty of traders down there. I just need to figure out how some of these traders traded. And, it was very simplistic for me. I just figured that the combination of these things meant that I could buy a Porsche, buy an airplane, and buy a home in Kenilworth, Illinois. And it was as simple as that. And what I was about to encounter was a prolonged multi-year period of finding out that a lot of my presuppositions about trading were all incorrect. There are some harsh realities of market speculation, and this is really kind of what I want to go through in this is really what I have found to be the road that I have been on. I really want to share the road that I have been on in my trading over a course that now spans 5 different decades. Another 4 years, I'm going to be able to say that I've traded in 6 different decades. And I kind of want to share some of the perspective that I have gained during this trading period with you. And I know a number of very successful traders through relationships that I've developed during my career. And to say that most of the successful traders that I know, the type of traders that you've read about, market wizards, many of whom I know quite, would resonate with what I say and agree with some of the points that I'm going to make. I wanted to find the easy way to be successful in trading. I just figured I'm going to copy somebody else who was successful, and it was going to be that simple. I'd find somebody in the bean pit and find out how they traded, and I'd copy what they do. I'd find out somebody in the bind and find out what they do. That really was just a matter of getting on the floor and finding out. Standing next to people who were making money and trading the same way, and that was the way. I found that consistently profitable market speculation only comes through the process of making mistakes and learning from them. The markets charge a tuition. It's like college, and traders don't get to determine what that tuition is. But successful trading is the result lots of mistakes. It's not a matter of finding out how somebody else trades. It's a matter of making mistakes and making it yourself. Experience and the experience of many other people that it takes 3 to 5 years to even have a clue about trading. And it takes 5 years to develop an approach to which I had enough to take a leap of faith. And I want to emphasize that leap of faith part. There's a lot of people who know a lot about markets. In fact, I found within a year after being board of trade, knew a lot more about the markets than many successful traders really knew. But the knowledge about the markets was not what makes money. It is taken sometimes a leap of faith. It's kind of going all in the parlance of Texas poker, and that's a tough thing to do, to come to the you're trading where you develop how you're going to trade. And you're going to say, okay, I'm going to take a leap of faith at this point in time, and just hope that what I'm doing works. I've seen far too many novice traders run out of money before they make enough mistakes to have a chance at success. And when I first joined the board of trade, I figured they were all successful. Now, when I was down there was a lot of people who leased seats and they thought it was going to be easy, and their stare at the board of trade or the Chicago Mercantile Exchange was just a matter of a month or two, and they were gone. And I see that yet today, that oftentimes it is a process. It takes 5 years to really be to the point in trading where you know what you're doing enough so that you're going to make it as a trader. Now, that assumes that your goal is to be a full-time trader. You're doing, of course, you don't have to be a full-time trader in the markets. There are people who have jobs as firemen or lawyers or whatever who can use the markets to supplement, but it's the same thing. It takes time for all people to learn how to trade. And you learn how to trade by making enough mistakes and hoping that your money through the mistake making process so that at the end you still have your money intact. You know, I saw this slide on Twitter one day, and it was posted by a friend of mine, a mercenary trader, a friend of mine who lives down in Las Vegas, and he kind of published a mercenary trader deal, and it just struck me as something that really resonated with me. I think when I first started trading, I kind of put my to the left. That I just figure you learn enough, it's pretty easy, it's a pretty straight drive, and you find success. And what I found in trading is it's really the road that you see on the right. It's a matter of driving off the road. It's a matter of being on the road and having mistakes and failing and making detours and having roads end and going through the process of agony. And it's only through that process of agony that you really come to. Every lesson must be learned the hard way in the markets. That has been my experience. The markets require tuitions. The markets determine what the tuition will be. For me, the tuition was $20,000 or $30,000 when I started trading, and I really wasn't trading for myself in 1975. I was working for a big advertising firm, but I would, save up enough money to trade a little bit and lose it, save up enough money to trade a little bit and lose it again, and save up another $5, $6, $7,000 and trade it another way and lose it again, and it's through the process of making those mistakes. And learning how to trade is really a matter of being in the school of hard knocks. I want to go through some of the lessons that I think I have learned as a trader. And again, I would say that most traders I know that are full-time traders that consider themselves to be professional full-time traders would agree to some of these things. Of all the components in operation, trade identification, or the thing that we might call signaling, is really one of the least important things. Yet it is, and I may be wrong, it may be my only observation, but my observation is that 80% of novice and aspiring traders spend 80% of their money tracing trade identification as the secret to trading success. It is just a matter of finding out what you need to trade and when, and success in trading comes, and that is not the reality as far as I'm concerned. And the other thing is an 80% win rate is a fool's dream. People who have had 80% win rates, but they've made them primarily by being what's called short gamma traders. They sell money options, and perhaps I'll talk about that here yet today. But even there, people who are short gamma can make money day after day, week after week, month after month, and year after year until they go broke. And so, even in that case, an 80% win rate is really not the answer to. It's been my observation that novice and aspiring traders seek these high win rate programs primarily due to the fact that they just want to avoid taking losses. How taking losses is a matter of personal insult. It's a bad reflection on who they are, um, and that the late secret indicator to achieve wealth is just a fable. But yet, this is something that seems to attract novice traders. Only con artists pitch 80% win rates and too good to return. And I want to go through some things here, and I just want to show you some advertisements that I've come across that I've gotten in the form of direct mail or I've seen on the internet that make my point. The type of advertisements that I think falsely appeal to novice traders and sell them this dream of being right 80% of the time somehow as being the road to success in trading. I'm really, the point is not to call out anybody by name. That is not really what I want to do here. I'm really going after this theme rather than any individual person. 99% of my stocks have gone way up. I'm a millionaire. How I turned $12,000 into $4 million. Now it's your turn. The ultimate cash generating machine. These are the things that appeal to novice traders that novice traders get sucked in on, and they don't find success through this route. Success is not found the easy way. These people are pitching the easy way to success, and there is no easy way to success when it comes to successful market speculation. A 90% winning guaranteed. Now, what is a guaranteed? Systems with a plus 80% win rate, the diamond setup. You notice a lot of these people that are pitching 80%, it's 90% win rates. It's the diamond setup. Well, next month is going to be the platinum setup. The month after that is going to be the road to riches setup. It's the new. Earn 8.71% per month with the active traders NQ package. There's always something clever about it. An NQ package setup. Free video, turning $150,000 into $650 in just 8 months. All you have to do is register. A simpler option. This is an easy deal. Unfortunately, what these people are pitching is a lie. Here's another one. It's just day trading. Day trading. And that's one of the things that have cropped up here in recent months is this whole thing about coaching. And I could do a separate webinar on coaching, but there's an industry that is a coaching industry. Sign up, pay somebody $5,000 to get coached, and you get coached by somebody who knows less about the markets than you do. Thousands of trades. Start winning thousands of trades. Here's another one. Some of you may receive this nonsense on your email. It's from this target.com. And if you just sign up for this, you'll get the one strategy proven to beat the markets since 1926. Yeah. Here it is again, the one strategy that has consistently beat the market since 1926. Now, this is peddled by a guy who attempts to come across as an even dealer. Unfortunately, if you really look hard enough in it, you'll find a cease and desist order that was placed on this individual by the Exchange Commission. Here's one that I got just this week. I got this by email just this week. I don't know these people. But it's proof when 9 out of 10 days see our high probability. Day trading futures is the best business in the world. All you have to do is get the proper tools. Well, guess how you're going to get the proper tools. You're just going to have to trader your money. The lessons learned is why you cannot make money riding on some other trader's coattails. It cannot produce success, and there's some for that. I happen to be a fairly successful trader, but I could share with you each and every day what I'm doing in the markets, and I will almost guarantee that you will not achieve the performance that I achieve with my own trading. And there are reasons for that. One reason, and the main reason, there's sooner trading programs are going to go through a drawdown. And when I go through a drawdown, I understand the drawdown. I know my trading approach intimately. I know my trading approach better than I know my own life. Uh, it is part of me. It is the essence of me. My trading approach is me. It reflects my character. It reflects my personality. It is me. It can't be separate from me. And that's what has come to be over the course of trading this many years. And so I can go through a drawdown. I understand the drawdown. I can explain what the drawdown is, and I can keep trading through it. But if somebody is trying to coattail me, it's impossible for them to endure a drawdown, intimately understand the trading program. And no matter whose trading program you sign up to follow, they will have a drawdown. And if you don't know their trading program, and if their program does not reflect who you are as an individual, you will get shaken out. A trading program cannot be successful unless it reflects the person character traits of the trader. I can guarantee you this, people and friends. And the reality is you cannot develop a trading program that reflects who you are as a trader. You've traded and made enough mistakes that you have discovered how to trade in a way that is just you. The interesting thing that I find about Jack Schwager, and Jack is a real good dear friend, but about Jack's books, the Market Wizards, is you go through there and you'll find out two common traits that will weave themselves through every story in the Market Wizards. The first one is risk management, risk management, risk management, risk management, cut your losses. The second is that every one of those traders trades their own way. There's no two traders that trade differently. I do not know two traders who trade the same way. And there's a reason for that. Successful traders trade ways that reflect who they are as individuals. It's impossible to be constantly profitable until a trader takes complete responsibility and ownership for his or her trading program. If you're trying to coattail somebody else, own it. Somebody else is owning it. You're always going to have an excuse. If you make a mistake, it's not going to be your mistake. And until you own your mistakes, until you own your victories and you own then you have a chance to actually dig yourself in and starting down the road to becoming a successful trader. But if you're attempting to follow somebody's black box or somebody's signals on a day-to-day basis where you're buying what they're doing, I guarantee you that your output is not going to be, you're not going to be happy with it. I mention what a couple of other traders have had to say. I'm a member of an online dialogue group of some real successful traders. They're big name traders. It's a group that I've been in group for many years. And here a couple of weeks ago, we kind of got onto the subject of doing system of trying to coattail somebody else. And it became one of the themes that we as an online group talked about. And here's what one of the traders had to say. The for me is that I don't think you can change yourself to fit a strategy. Now, you can't change who you are to fit how somebody else trades. If you are the you either need to quit trading or you need to find a strategy that fits you, which is actually very circular because if you can't find a strategy which works for you over time, then it means you should not be trading. I guess the caveat is if you are able to fundamentally change who you are. I have never seen it done. I wonder if anyone else has. This was a comment from one of the world's largest and most respected trader. This individual who wrote this or said this was a trader that was responsible for the most profitable trade ever at Goldman Sachs. This was a comment to what he said. Well put, guys. I'm glad somebody made mention of the circular nature of the discussion and explained it better than I could have. I think this is precisely why style drift among struggling traders is so common, because they think a certain style doesn't fit them, so they keep moving from style to style, not realizing the real problem. It's hard to tell someone they are not cut out for something, but if what you guys are arguing is correct, that seems to be the unavoidable conclusion for many. Is novice traders will start down one road, try to copy one way to trade. It doesn't work, and so they go through what's called style drift. This response was written by a member of a famed Chicago Board of Trade family, a family which really developed the very first high frequency trading operation. Um, what some legends of traders say about trading, here's another one. It's difficult to bleach a lizard spots. And if you do, it's still a leopard spots. And if you do, it's still a leopard. Style drift is essentially grail hunting for traders. And we all talk about looking for the holy grail. No, it's the one thing that will make all the difference in this trade and the ones that come after. Experience tells me this is futile. Trading tools can be mastered. I don't even know how to say that word. However, mastery appears to be where the question of success or failure is found. The commitment to the process of controlling emotion, journey, and not an event. It has to be practiced through prayer, meditation, routine, etc. If this is not tended to daily, failure is pretty much guaranteed. And meant by one of the largest wealth managers in the U.S. who was a member of this group. I just kind of want to go through some of the lessons I have learned individually as a trader. Refer to people who are professional traders as journeymen, because I think that's exactly what they are. Trading is not an art, is not a science. It is really a craft. It is a craft like being a craftsman of 200 or 300 years ago, and you become a craftsman trader. And other journeyman traders, you need to develop my own niche, unique and special to only me, and based on my ability to have tolerated risk, my levels of capitalization, my character trait, personality, and the time that I had to get involved in trading. This is the experience I had, and I had it by losing money at the board of trade. I tried to do it the way someone was trading, and it wouldn't work for me. Figured that I couldn't do it the way that somebody else was doing it. I had to figure it out myself, and you have to figure it out by making mistakes. I had to figure out who I was as a trader, and that is a arduous process. In my opinion, it takes 5 years to really truly find a trading niche. And you do it through trial and error. And you ultimately do it by ownership of the process and of the performance. And learning to trade is really an act of problem solving. And I just remember way back to the beginning, boy, if I can just get over this hurdle, if I can just figure out how to put my stops, if I can just figure out the right way to get into a trade, if I could just figure out the right moving average to use, if I could just figure out this or that or another thing, I would have it whacked. And I would solve that problem thinking that, okay, it's now it's open from here on in, and you take about 4 more steps and you run into another brick wall. Refining my approach to market speculation has taken a lifetime. Now, I don't trading much. I pretty much trade the way I traded years ago. It was surprising. Somebody here a few months ago sent to me a copy of a speech that I gave to the Market Technicians Association meeting in 1989, and I read it, and it was just kind of flabbergasting because there were really very little differences between what I explained as my trading approach then and what it today. But you refine your trading approach to market speculation over time. Trading has taught me the ins and outs of my character, of my few other careers have. I just think when you trade, you find out who you are as an individual. You find out your ugliness, you find out your beauty, but you're going to find it all out. And that's just the process of trading. You can't hide behind memos. You can't hide behind having 4 meetings a day. You hide behind how you do at the end of each, which you can figure out to a dime. Other lessons that I have learned, that learning how to lose is a prerequisite to learning how to win. You have how to be a loser to learn how to be a winner. Now, that may seem like a contradiction. But the reality is, those people who have made it as a trader will agree with this, that you have to learn how to lose. I've run into people where, they one day they'll mention to me that they have a opinion about a market. It might be that 2 or 3 days ago they had the opinion that the dollar was going to gain against the euro, and then you talk to them a couple of days later and you say, uh, you know, did you put that trade on? And they say, no, I didn't put the trade on. And you say, well, why didn't you put the trade on? And they say, well, I was afraid to lose. Being afraid to lose is going to be a big handicap to being able to win. You have to learn how to lose. You have to take it in stride. What you do with a losing trade is far more important than what you do with a winning trade. Winning trades have themselves. It's the losing trades that you have to attend to. The person who was my primary mentor when I traded, when I first started at the Board of Trade, the early days of my trading, was an individual who was an all-star trader for Cargill. He was a brilliant trader. He was one of the best traders I've ever met. He's deceased now. Wonderful guy. As a matter of fact, he borrowed my wife and I the money to buy our first home in the Chicago area. He became a dear friend of our families. But he really drove that to me as, Peter, it's your losing trade that's going to determine how you're going to do as a trader, what you're going to do with your losers, how are you going to handle your losers. Taking a trade off properly is much harder than putting a trade on properly. It's easy to put a trade on. I mean, putting a trade on is a no-brainer. Taking a trade off, now that's a hard thing, especially taking a trade off into dealing with a trade that hasn't really gone to where you think it's going to go. It's an open trade with profits. Open trade with profits is probably my hardest trade to manage, and I wish I could tell you today that I've figured out how to manage it, but I haven't. It is still the thing that I struggle more with than any other trader, and then any other aspect of trading is what you do with a trade that you think is going to, let's say, right now I'm short against the dollar. I think that we're going to have a substantial move. I've got money in the trade, but and those are the trades that are really the hardest to deal with. What do you do with the trade? You've got a good profit in it. You give it back. You get scared. You hop out. Those are the difficult trades. You have to learn to do with those trades. And just we keep very good metrics at Factor on our trading. We really monitor our trading extremely close. We analyze our metrics. We have metrics, we have benchmarks, and we have an historical win rate of just slightly actually over 40%, is 41 some percent. And I want to tell you what that means to me. That means that my default expectation for the next trade is that it's going to be a loser. When I put a trade on, my expectation is that that trade's going to be a loser. It doesn't keep me from putting it on. It doesn't keep me from putting it on in the size that I should put it on. But it does give me a frame. I don't emotionally get wrapped up in the high hopes on the next trade. I just assume that each trade is going to be a loser because the reality is that there's a higher probability it will be than it will be a success. I have learned that I absolutely have no clue about what any given market's going to do. I may put a trade on, I may the market, but that opinion is meaningless. I have no ability, I have no clue what a market's going to do. I've seen people who really actually believe they're going to know what the market's going to do, and I think that that's a good way to find yourself into a real pot of hot water as a trader, as you become overconfident about what a market's going to do. Trading screw ups are like chameleons. You make mistakes. And I talked about you trade, you learn to trade by making mistakes. The problem is that some of these mistakes appear in slightly different ways. They're like chameleons. It's the same mistake, but it can present itself with slightly different appearances in slightly different angles. There's a huge difference between being right and making money. And I know that this is more than just a saying, and you'll see it on the blogosphere every once in a while, but it is so true. Is I want to make money. I don't care if I'm right. I just want to make money. I can make more money by staying in an initial position than by attempting to pyramid a profitable trade. This is just for me. This applies to me, apply to you, but I know it applies to me because I found that I'm not good at pyramiding. When I attempt a pyramid, I tend to screw up a trade. I try to I go to a more disadvantage in terms of my average price. I have less staying ability, lasting ability to hold with a trade. And so for me, I really make more money by putting on an initial position and just sitting on it than attempting to pyramid it. I'm not a pyramiding trader. Um, the other thing that I found is you never have enough contracts in a good trade. You always have too many contracts in a losing trade. I've never found anybody that cannot agree with this statement. Trading must be viewed as a marathon. It's not a sprint. Trading is a marathon. It is a long-term process. It's something that long term. You have to think about your goal is to be trading. If you're a young guy, if you're 25 years old, your goal may be to be trading 40 years from now. If you're trading 40 years ago, it may change your orientation on what you're going to do. I'm most profitable when I focus on the process of executing my trading rather than what the results of the trade is going to be. My priority has to be placed on the process, not the outcome of an individual trade. I've had some years where I'd say at the end of the year, that was a great year. That was a fabulous. I really traded well this year. But when I look at the results of the year, it might not have been that. I didn't trade very well that year, but there were years that were more profitable. Almost all trading mistakes will lead to a loss. I know that this is true for me. Maybe I hit the buy button instead of the sell button. Maybe I hit the wrong size. I do 100 lot instead of my decimal point in the wrong place, and it's a mistake. And I've just found that it just seems like whenever you make a mistake, it leads to a loss. And I just think it's extremely important to have a mentor. Having a mentor is an extremely important component for successful trading. And again, I just want to point out what I said before. There's been a big growth in the coaching industry. And I don't necessarily see this as a good thing. Not that there are not some good coaches out there, but I would say this. If you run into a firm which declares itself as a coaching firm that has multiple coaches within their staff, I would shy away from them, especially if they have not been in business if they have been in business for less than 10 years. Other lessons I've learned: the desire to make a fortune, either large or small, will not in and of itself bring the desire to reality. Um, that successful trading is an upstream swim against human nature. I guess I spelled psychology wrong here, but psychology of trading is immensely important. Process of trading is far more important than trade identification. Is how you go about the process of trading. How you trade is far more important than what you trade. This is just a quick look. I'm not going to stay here very long, but this is just kind of my own trading plan here. And for each one of those boxes, I probably have 5 or 6 sub boxes. I've thought through my trading plan extremely carefully. The desire to make the wrong way. The only aspect of trading that I control is order entry. Think about it, ladies and gentlemen. I'm an order enter. That's what I am. Drawdowns occur on both capital and emotional levels. We all talk about capital drawdowns, dollar drawdowns. We also have emotional drawdowns, and in some cases, emotional drawdowns can actually take the biggest toll. Now, despite the glamour that's portrayed for a full-time trader, I'm just a glorified order enterer. That's all I am. I enter orders. I may think of myself as a trader. I'm not. I just enter orders. That's what I do for a living. I'm my own worst enemy. My character flaws are accentuated, highlighted, and exploited by the markets. Left to my own devices and emotional urges, I would never have succeeded as a trader. I am by nature an impatient person. My wife would have testified to that. By nature, I'm impulsive. My default is to act and ask questions later. But that's kind of who I am. I know that about myself. That's why I need a very organized trading approach. Left unguarded, I will tend to sabotage what I know to do best, especially because I'm a discretionary trader, not a systematic trader. Just a quote by Ed Seykota, many of you may know, win or lose, everybody gets what they want out of the market. Some people seem to like to lose, so they win by losing money. I'm enemy number one. I know that about myself. What I have to overcome to be successful trading is what my natural tendency is. And so I just know that and I understand that about that. Just some realities about my trading career. It just seems like persistence through a never-ending series of trials or errors. I've had to be persistent. I've just had to keep at it. I was a Division One ice hockey player, and I know in hockey we talk about some players being grinders. And those of you who may know that term from other sports, a grinder. And as a trader, I've kind of been a grinder. I just kept at it. I've had an obsession to achieve excellence. I want to be excellent. I want to be an excellent analyst. I want to be excellent at entering orders. I want to be excellent at having a process. I want to be excellent at holding trades. I want to be excellent at money management. It's excellence that I want to achieve. And I just want to point this one out, and there's some dispute on that, but I think I've been a success at trading partially because of providence. It's almost predestination type thing. It's just been a synergy and a confluence of numerous factors. It's the clients that I had in advertising in some way contributed to my success in trading. And some of you who know my background in trading understand what this is about. It's when and where I started. I started at the Board of Trade. I started in 1975. We had just come off the biggest bull market in grains. I think that added. It was the time that I started. Had I started trading 10 years later, it might not have been the same outcome. It's the people who I met and who surrounded me. Had I met maybe different people at the Board of Trade, had I been surrounded by different people at the Board of Trade, the outcome of myself as a trader might have been different. The nature of the markets in the early 1980s really contributed to the success that I had as a trader. I caught some early trades in the foreign currency markets that really gave me the type of equity to become a trader, a full-time trader, to have excess trading, to trade so that I didn't have to worry about where my next dollar was going to come to pay my rent. And it was because of the nature of the markets in the 1980s. And I really believe that it wasn't for some of these issues that I've identified in the area of providence that it could have ended very, very differently for me. There are some common threads that I think bind journeymen and journeywomen traders. And I know I've used the word journeyman, and it's not because uh, uh, I'm not culturally sensitive, although I'm really not. I'm not politically correct, but I do want to acknowledge there's some excellent women traders and women traders who I know. I have met and become friends with many excellent traders, at the Board of Trade and the Merck, which I also had an involvement at Indies Corp. That was just the most wonderful experience as a trader I've ever had. Through private email community that I've been involved in, is I have just found that journeyman trader have an aversion to risk. If you ask them what they do for a living, they probably won't tell you that they're traders. They'll probably tell you that they're risk managers. Their focus is risk. They manage risk and let profits take care of themselves. It's the ability to preserve capital during the hard times, a willingness to take a loss. They're capable of changing their minds on a moment's notice. That's one pet peeve I have with the internet is, I believe in a concept which is strong opinions weakly held. I may have a strong opinion on a market one day, and my opinion may be completely different a week later, and I'll say something about a market one week is something different the next week, and there's all kinds of people that remind me about the inconsistency. Can't you make up your mind, Brand? Actually, I think the ability to change your mind is a very positive trait of traders, not a negative trait. It's not whether you're right or wrong that's important. It's how much money you make when you're right and how much you lose when you're wrong. That's Stan Miller quoting George Soros. Some other common threads that bind journeymen and journeywomen traders is intimacy with their approach to trading, whether it's discretionary or systematic. A journeyman trader knows exactly what their trades are. I don't have, I trade the charts. I trade the conventional chart patterns. I consider me a classical chartist. I'm not Edwards and McGee. I am Schabacher, written in the 1930s. Schabacher is who I trade. That is the way I trade. And I know that. I'm intimate with that approach. I know that approach. I read the Schabacher book almost every day. I reference the Schabacher book. I know my markets. I don't have to study a chart to know if there's a trade for me. I can look at a chart and in a second or two know whether there's a trade for me in that market. It takes me about 10 minutes to go through all of the markets that I monitor on a Saturday to determine whether I have a candidate trade or not. I think to in the first place, I don't happen to think that the charts really are very accurate at predicting the future. That's a subject that I'll cover in next webinar, so I don't want to open Pandora's box on that one right now. But the reality is that I know a trade for myself. I know immediately when I see a trade. It's the willingness to accept complete responsibility for the process and the outcome. It's not to blame it on the market, not to blame it on somebody else, not to blame it on the fact that you put your stop in the wrong place. It's not to blame it on the fact that you didn't do too many contracts or you did too many. But you take complete responsibility for the process and the outcomes. You've got to be able to do that. Journeyman traders do that. It's the desire for excellence sake. It's a single-mindedness of purpose. And one thing that I have really noticed about the traders who are really particularly outstanding, it's a controlled sense of daring. They know when to do size. They know all of a sudden, that perhaps they trade, a futures contract for 100,000 or futures contract for $75,000 of capital. All of a sudden, they're doing 2 or 3 contracts. There's a trade that might come up 2 or 3 times a year that they see as asymmetrical in nature, and they have that controlled sense of daring. Some other things that I think bind together commonalities between journeymen and journeywomen traders. It's a willingness to experiment. I'm not talking about nilly-willy changing everything about your trading. I think that's ridiculous and foolish. But every once in a while, it's the willingness to try something different. What I do is I have most of my trading capital in a single account, but I also have another little account that I use to horse around with, to try different things, sometimes to try some indicators over time. Not enough to kill me, but to try different things a little bit. It's a rejection of conventional wisdom. It doesn't bother me to do a trade that nobody agrees with. As a matter of fact, if I turn on CNBC and Bloomberg, both of which I have absolutely no regard for, I think they're complete idiots. They're pretty talking heads, but I get the sense that there is conventional wisdom one way or the other. And I see a trade that goes against conventional wisdom, I know that that's probably a trade that's going to make me money. It's imagination. It's the ability to see something in a trade or an approach that nobody else sees. Now, this I think is an advantage that position traders hold more than day traders. And next webinar, I'm going to get into that. I am not a big fan of day trading, and I will explain why. I think people who day trade start off with a big disadvantage from the get-go, and I'll explain why I think that. But I think in the case of position traders, it's an ability when crude oil is $100 to be thinking about $50. It's the ability right now. I'm in a trade in the Chinese yuan. I think that what we're going to see is a massive deflation in the Chinese yuan. We'll see the Chinese yuan deflate by a factor of 10 times. I could be right. I could be wrong. But that's the position. And the final thing that I've really noticed about about journeyman traders is they're a quirky bunch. They have very unusual personalities. Most of the traders that I know who are really good traders, I guess, you know, you're um, when you don't have money, you're called crazy. When you do have money, you're called a unique personality. But most really good traders I know are really pretty quirky people. Just a couple final words on trade identification. Knowing exactly what a trade is or is not is the minimum starting point for building a successful trading operation. I know that I put down trade identification, and I want to kind of come full circle on that. As a trader, you have to come to a point where you know for you what a trade is or what a trade is not. And that is a process of making mistakes, and that is a process of 3 to 5 years. But it's at that process where the heavy lifting begins, where so many people try to sell you on the fact that that is the game in and of itself. That if you know trade identification, that's all that you need. And what case I am making is knowing what a trade is or is not. That's the point at which the work begins. That is the point at which all the important and difficult work begins in the trader. So it's quitting time. I guess I've taken almost an hour of your time. I want to thank you. I want to promise to you that we're not going to take nearly the time in the next two webinars that we took today. I hope that I've been able to add something that's been useful for you. That's been my intent. I thank you for hanging with me during this time. And Rob, I'll turn it back to you.
All right. Thank you, Peter. Really
We're
appreciate
done.
that.